I didn't think we'd be getting more leaks this late in the game. I really wish we'd just get some official word from Tesla. But yeah, we got some more specifications leaked, except the ones you're most interested in. You probably want price and range, and well, we're not getting those today. We did finally get some gross vehicle, as in maximum weight ratings for the Cybertruck, thanks to the Vindicator that's just recently gone live through the NHTSA, and that revealed a bit more information than I think most were expecting. Feels like Tesla leaks things differently with every single product, I guess, but this one revealed that the max gross vehicle weight, when loaded up with the max vehicle payload capacity, was somewhere between the range of 9,001 and 10,000 pounds. So keep in mind, this is not the curb weight. The curb weight meaning how much it weighs when nothing's in it. This is the weight when it's at its maximum rated capacity, which we don't know if the actual payload capacity of the Cybertruck has changed since that unveiling night. A lot of things can change over the course of 4 years, so I'm not going to say that it's even likely that the payload capacity has stayed consistent, but just for the sake of this is the only number that Tesla's actually given us. They haven't talked much more about it, and I'm hoping that, you know, if Tesla can't necessarily honor the range or price numbers, or the delivery date timeline, of course, that they could at least honor some of the performance and payload specifications. So let's assume that Tesla was right with their original unveiling, and the Cybertruck payload is still 3,500 pounds, which for an average pickup truck is actually quite good. You know, the F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T usually don't get much higher than about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. So a much better payload capacity than pretty much any other electric pickup truck on the market. So if we subtract the max payload capacity from this gross vehicle weight range, we're looking at the Cybertruck weighing close to, on the low end, 6,000 pounds, on the high end, maybe around 7,000 pounds, which I don't mean to brag or nothing, but in the past, when we talked about Cybertruck weight, mid 6,000s was actually my personal guess, which is actually, for an electric pickup truck, very, very good. I mean, most Rivians are usually over 7,000 pounds, and F-150 Lightning is sitting around 7,000 pounds as well. And the fact that the Cybertruck uses so much exoskeleton steel, and we know it's got those big old tires, this fancy suspension system, but thanks likely to that structural battery pack, the more energy-dense 4680 cells, and of course, I'm sure Tesla's state-of-the-art GigaPress technology combining a lot of pieces into one, less parts, less complexity. It's interesting considering the Cybertruck, like, it feels like it should weigh a lot more than a Rivian R1T or an F-150 Lightning, but at least the data that's being shown from NHTSA is suggesting that it's actually lighter than most other electric pickup trucks. Definitely much lighter than the Hummer EV, although that's not hard to be. Most vehicles on the road are lighter than the Hummer. But in that same list that leaked the weight rating of the Cybertruck, we also saw 2 different references for powertrains, which is a good sign that I'll admit points to the idea of my speculation being wrong, because you recall in more recent videos, I was anticipating Tesla to just build dual motor Cybertrucks until they got the energy density of the 4680 cells high enough, and then maybe they would do the tri-motor, which allegedly Tesla claimed would get over 500 miles of range, and I just thought they weren't ready for that yet. This doesn't necessarily confirm anything, but the list says that a tri-motor performance Cybertruck is also been rated for its max gross vehicle weight. So that implies, I don't know if necessarily it launches at the exact same time, but if this list is anything to go off of, it points to the concept that there might be dual motor and tri-motor Cybertrucks coming out roughly around the same time, at least if they're showing up in the paperwork right here. But most notably, that should be mentioned about this list is the lacking of single motor Cybertruck as well as quad motor Cybertruck. There was talk for a while that maybe the Cybertruck would have 4 motors because some guy leaked it on Twitter that Tesla was working on one. I think his name was Elon Musk or whatever. But Elon claimed that there might be a quad motor Cybertruck, and these documents don't really make any reference to it, so who knows? Maybe they plan on building one in the future. Truthfully, I don't think it's necessary. We've seen what Rivians with dual motors are capable of, and they're still very capable. And you know, a 4th motor is basically just going to complicate the manufacturing line. It's going to make the vehicle heavier, less efficient, which means less range. And really, from what I can tell, the only advantage of 4 motors is going to be very specific off-roading conditions. And given the Cybertruck's weird departure angle and the very long wheelbase, I don't think this particular Tesla is going to be that well optimized for off-roading. It'll still be great. You know, I'm sure it'll do better off-road than most any other Tesla could, but I feel like they were designing the Cybertruck to go after the F-150 market because that's more popular, not so much like the Jeep market, and that's really the only market you would go after more aggressively with 4 motors. So I don't think they're gonna fuss around with it, but I've been wrong before, and the possibility of the ground clearance improving could be very good because there was a little spec that I forgot to mention in yesterday's video. Yes, at the earnings call, kind of under their breath, they briefly mentioned that the Cybertruck Cybertruck is a very complicated vehicle with lots of bells and whistles because its suspension system is going to have 14 inches of difference to adjust between. So at maximum suspension, you can lower it up to 14 inches lower from that and still, I guess, get the vehicle over a speed bump. But I'm excited to see the adjustment levels of that Cybertruck suspension system. Tesla's definitely been testing it a lot in Mexico, and the other thing I've been testing, which is by far the most exciting and coolest benchmark I've ever seen, probably for any vehicle ever, is how bulletproof is the Cybertruck's exoskeleton. I don't care how you guys define exoskeleton. Well, it's not technically an exoskeleton. Who cares? If the weight is sub 7,000 pounds and they can still cover the thing with bulletproof material, that's what I'm impressed by. I don't care what manufacturing term you use. And someone from the Tesla owners of Silicon Valley got these great shots of the Cybertruck driving down the freeway with clearly like an entire load from a Tommy gun, as Ellen calls it. Based on previous tweets, I'm not sure he really knows his guns all that well, so I'm not sure if this was really a Tommy gun. But if Ellen is telling the truth about the Tommy gun being unloaded into the side of the Cybertruck, then we're talking about .45 caliber bullets this thing is withstanding, and he said none of those rounds made it into the passenger cabin, which is amazing because when they first unveiled it, they just said it would be bulletproof to a 9mm handgun. So this is upping the stakes a little bit more, but I just have to remind everybody before we all forget, Tesla never promised bulletproof glass. Everyone seems to think they did. There were lots of headlines claiming that the bulletproof glass failed, but no, Tesla just called it armored glass. It was just supposed to be durable, but they never used the word bulletproof when referring to the glass. They only used the term bulletproof when it came to the exoskeleton, and I'm just happy that they're actually sticking to something in regards to the durability, because we haven't heard anything about armored glass recently. It's just so amazing to know that there's a manufacturer out there that's like, yeah, let's make sure this really works here, and they just unloaded into the side of it. And now not only did they unload a full round into the Cybertruck of probably around 50 bullets, but then afterwards we're just like, yeah, let's just keep driving it around. It kind of continues to look awesome. It's a really dope look to just have a vehicle full of bullet dents but not bullet holes. Like, that just says a lot about the durability of the truck. I feel like Ford should never be allowed to use the term built tough if there's a vehicle on the market capable of taking a full round like that. Really exciting updates. I'm happy that there's still references to tri-motor being made in government documents. Still no EPA test results yet, although of course I will document that as soon as they're made public. I'm kind of surprised Tesla is going to be willing to do like several powertrains at once, because for the longest time they only wanted to do dual motor out of Giga Texas, and I knew the Cybertruck was already going to be a very complicated vehicle to manufacture, so having one with dual motor and one with tri, who knows, maybe they have the same battery pack in both, so the tri-motor, if anything, would probably have a little bit worse range. Maybe it borrows that Tesla Semi technology that decouples the rear motors, but still it's listed as a different powertrain from the Tesla Semi in the document, so I don't think it's necessarily identical. But what are you guys most excited for out of all the specs we talked about today? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. Thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.